watching an ad scroll on my screen, so that's why I'm going as long as I'm going. Hey there, friendlies. How's up? Welcome to the Bevvies, Blades, and Bushcraft live stream, where we have bevies, we got blades, and we do, in fact, sometimes talk about bushcraft. Tonight I have a reading for you from Backcountry Eats. It's from the Drying Times Will Vary section. I hope that was in focus. I put it in front of my face so that it would focus on the book. Before we get to the show, though, I'd like to do the usual housekeeping where I say, if you are watching us, time shifted to tomorrow or next week or next month or next year, thank you for your eyes. Thank you for the comments down below. It warms the cockles of my cold little heart to see you people interacting with the content, even at a time when you can't actually interact with the side chat. I love you guys for that. If at any point tonight you really love what you're seeing and hearing, I invite you to hit that thumbs up. If at any point tonight you really kind of hate what you're seeing and hearing, that's okay. The frowny thumb works just as well. And if you'd like to take a more active role in keeping the lights on around here, as so many in the side chat already have, then I invite you to click on the join button wherever the heck YouTube has put it this week. And there you will see the 2 tiers of membership, as well as what each tier gets you for your hard-earned cash. Okay, so now, what's been happening in the world of, bushcraft and YouTube and such in the past week or so? First, there's a man in Surrey, that's in the UK, not in British Columbia. He's built a system based on Ring cameras and AI to keep badgers and foxes from messing up his yard, his back garden at night. He trained the system over a long time to recognize foxes and badgers and to emit a high-frequency sound that scares the critters off. Now, OG channel watchers know that I'm thinking I should call this guy about my squirrel problem. So second, as a wee update to the story I told you guys about, last week about the couple and the dog who got mauled to death by a grizzly in Banff National Park. Friend to the channel, Kevin Callan, aka the Happy Camper, he has a piece in Explore magazine in which he sort of discusses what might have happened. There are no living eyewitnesses, so we don't really know, but he goes through some possible scenarios. So it's good reading, for sure. And third, the CBC has an article about the wildfire crisis in British Columbia and the steps that could be taken to take the wind out of its sails a little. The fact is that CBC has doubled, not the CBC, the fact is that BC has doubled the amount of land wrecked by wildfires over its record season, which was last year. So this year it went to like a whopping 28,500 square kilometers. I was going to say hectares. And the thing is, across the country and down into the States, it's just the same story everywhere. It's just been a rough season. So the Forest Practices Board, it's an independent sort of non-profit organization, is saying that we're spending our wildfire prevention money in the wrong place, and we need to be spending it in a more proactive sense, taking more proactive measures to lessen the damage in wildfire season. So that's also an interesting read. As I always say, the links for all these stories are in the show notes below the video screen or the video window. And of course, none of this is sponsored content. Shall I show you the beer for tonight and then see who's hanging with us before we do the reading? I think that's probably not a bad idea. What I got tonight now, I'm starting to run out of new beers to try with you guys in the local stores. So you've seen this one before. Hochelag Caramel Salé Stout. So that's a salted caramel stout. I do like salted caramel. And if I remember correctly, I quite like this stout because it wasn't too cloyingly sweet and caramelly. but we're about to find out. Look at the bouquet. I'm trying to pour it slowly so I don't wreck the pour. Because I don't know if Serge is here. If Serge is here, the pour is going to get wrecked no matter what I do. If he's not here, it's going to go great. I guess he's not here. We've been abandoned by Serge. Look at that beautiful color, people. Look at that. That's a beer that suits this nighttime scene on the glass. All right, let's give it a tasty poo. Yeah, I've had that before. I really like that. Definitely a briny saltiness right at the tip of the tongue. A nice smooth caramel thing happening in the middle. It's a stout, right? Stouts and porters tend to be kind of, they're ales essentially. So very malty, really light on the I wanted to say oats, but I mean hops. Sits really nice in the mouth. That is absolutely nummy. So that's from Oshlag, which is sort of a bastardized version, I guess, of the name Hochelaga, which was the original name for Montreal. And there's still a neighborhood called Hochelaga Maisonneuve. You don't want to live there, but it's there. So before we get to the very quick little reading, I'm going to see who's hanging with us tonight and say hi to whoever I can. Wow, it's only 21:07 and there's already like a bazillion comments. I like it. You guys are being interactive tonight. Hey, before I do it, we got 18 people watching and 13 thumbs ups. It's not bad, but you guys can do just a little bit better. Just about 4 better. Thank you for whoever just hit the thumbs up. All right, so it's coming in good and early, like good and early at 6 p.m. There was Tenenbaum. Memorex88 in the house. I believe he's currently splitting his time between this live stream and Dennis's, if Dennis is still live streaming. I actually got a chance to poke my head in to his live stream for the like live instead of after the fact for the first time in months, because I almost always watch him time shifted. I see. Memorex says that Lipstick Lodge brought him over. Oh, you're in Montreal. Holy crap. A local person. I don't know if you're a male or female. I'm saying he's here, local boy kind of thing, but that's me just assuming. Now, is this going to work better with my specs on tonight? No, because they're filthy. Okay, forget about it. David Evans in the house, and as you guys will recognize, David Evans is a channel hero with that little icon next to his name. He's also a channel mod, so as I always say, be polite or he will drop the hammer on you. We got Canadian in the house, being all channel hero-y as well. See that little icon? I love seeing that icon on you peoples. You guys are helping me keep the lights on, remember? Destiny popping in night good and early. Are you driving right now, Destiny, or are you home? You're probably driving. And there's me saying hi to everyone. Grace Martin and Destiny's hoping that Chris will be with us tonight. I do as well. I like seeing his name pop in. He often has some cool trucker stories or comments to say. Someday I want to like pick that guy's mind about trucking, just purely because it's a world that is so foreign to the world that I live in, you know? Canadian says Wyatt was great. Yeah, man, Dennis his show just keeps getting better. He's got a real cool mix of guests coming on. It's exciting to watch that guy grow. He deserves every ounce of success he gets. He shows me how a live stream series is done, man. Destiny's gonna go get. Whoops, Destiny's going to go get a snack. That's okay. I just had supper. Otherwise, that holy crap! Look who's here, Steve. I haven't seen you in a long ass time. How's it hanging down there in Hawaii? Have you done any cool trips, canoe trips? I think I saw on the Facebooks you went somewhere recently, didn't you? Ah, nice to see your name popping up, man. We got Christy in the house. Christy is also a channel hero, as is Linda. Linda's a 2 times channel hero tonight because she brought Memorex 88 over from Dennis's stream, and she has the channel hero icon next to her name. We got Marcus. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Yes, it is a happy Tuesday. I tell you something. This was a crazy day for me, man. Crazy day. Since 3, I've been running around like a fart in a windstorm. So it's nice to be sitting on my butt and hanging with you fine people. You guys have heard me say this many times, but man, these Tuesday nights really keep my head on straight. I love doing this. Memorex is thanking Linda for sharing the good news about Jesse's streams. I'm just going to skip down a little bit because I do feel that you guys are talking faster than I'm interacting here. So Canadian has the drums. So that was one. Okay, that was 9:01. Wow, you guys were chatting way before I even started. Oh no, it sort of really picked up around 9 o'clock. Like 8:59, there were a bunch of comments, and then like 9, so boom, all these comments just sort of appeared. Nice. Marcus in the house. Marcus is also a channel hero. How's it going, Marcus? What's going on tonight? Country Boy, channel hero as well, saying hi to everyone. Good to see your name popping up in the side chat. How's it going over there? On this night of nights? Well, it's a little earlier for you than it is for me. Just taking a look here. So we've said hi to Scott. I mean, he's still there. Said hi to David. Said hi to Canadian Christy. Said there we go. Jim. I don't know how long you can hang for, Jim, but nice to see you. For those of you who are quite new, Jim used to listen in while he was driving home from work, and it's a long drive. So I think he was in his car for the majority of my 2-hour live stream. But I think the last, was it half hour, 15 minutes, you were actually home? Or am I completely missing how long your drive was? It just seemed like you were driving forever on Tuesday nights. Linda's got to find her Backcountry Eats book. You bought a few books since you've been up there. I think this is a terrific book, and I fully intend to really deep dive into it. I have an issue in that the people I live with do not like the smell when I am dehydrating meat. So I kind of have to wait until I'm home solo to do it, like for the night kind of thing. So anyway, but I'm optimistic. I was making chicken jerky one day. And everyone ran around and threw the windows open, and then they finally just kicked me out into the garage to finish. Christy's doing the God's good work right here, telling everyone to thumbs up. There we go. We got whiskey and whiskey. I was going to say whiskey in the harbor. We got Whiskey Harbor in the house. How's it going, Whiskey? How's the weather out where you are? It's finally cold. Well, it's cold and pissy, man. We got a lot of rain on us this past weekend. Okay, we just got a bunch of people saying hi to each other and celebrating the beer. Country Boy says, why do we keep saying Country Boy? You're not from the South. You're not from the States. I don't know why I keep doing that. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. In the good old days, the government used to spend money on clearing undergrowth to mitigate massive fires. Now they just put it in their pockets. There's a lot of, they go into, I mean, you're sort of leaning into the political, but I'll let it go because he didn't you spread it equally, so that's fine. but they do talk a little bit about that, about how forest management was a thing at one point, and then at some point we stopped doing forest management, and so especially like forests that are conifers, right? They're matchsticks. Absolute matchsticks. The First Nations, before we were even here, they did all kinds of forest management. They had controlled burns. They cleared out underbrush. They tended to the forest, and I feel that we need to get back to tending to the forest, and that means not clear cutting, but it might mean thinning out some areas. It might mean, clearing out the underbrush a little bit, or like, doing controlled burns to burn off the dead stuff that. I'm just getting excited, so I'm hitting the microphone. Like small burns to get rid of the flammables, But anyways, but that organization does sort of, they have some concepts like that, and that's sort of where proactive prevention. That's not a word in English, is it? Preventiveness, prevention, prevention. I was just testing you guys. Anyways, now that I've made an ass of myself, let's just move on. Marcus likes the glass. Yeah, that was it's a set of 4. Those are the ones that UPS discarded. And I said, dude, I just spent $100 plus shipping on those glasses. You're gonna find them. And the guy, the small business that makes them, he also emailed them, and between us, we got them to find the box. Because they called me and said, here's an extra $30 of whatever the border charges. So I paid it, and then they discarded the box. I was like, now UPS, I have often said that you are Satan's children. And it looks like my days of disrespecting your brown ass are coming to a middle. Please find my package. Yeah, I love a good dark beer. Lipstick Lodge is having cinnamon tea tonight. I have a hard time with cinnamon tea, man. Like, I like cinnamon in my baked goods, but like I hate those little cinnamon hearts, and I have a hard time with cinnamon tea because, well, you may have a different cinnamon tea than I've ever had, but I've found that it gets really sort of, it kind of punches me out a bit. Unless I add a little honey or something, then it sort of it tones it down, and it rounds the taste off. Then I can do it. I feel my sinuses. Memorex says water. School bus driver here, and 5 a.m. comes early. Yep, that's for damn sure. I get up at 5:30 every morning because last year I got up at 6:30 every morning. My eldest daughter was in elementary school. My youngest daughter was in daycare. And I would just get up and happily make my wife a latte, get everyone's breakfast going, blah, blah, blah. Everyone went out the door at a, fairly leisurely time because the school is 600 meters walk from our house. And daycare was far, but my wife took the squeakling to daycare on her way to her office. Now that the eldest is in high school and has to be at school like an hour earlier than she used to, and the squeak is now going to the elementary school that's 600 meters, so I take her before going to work, and blah, 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 blah. I get up at 5:30 every morning, and it saps my will to live. So you people who have to get up at 4:35, I have so much respect for the fact that you people can face the day, because every morning when my alarm goes off at 5:30, I damn the entire universe. But that's enough of me bitching and moaning. But yes, so I understand, Memorex. So if you bow out way before 11, I won't be too upset. Country Boy says we're good at interacting. Jess, yeah, you guys are a good team to have in the chat. I find it's never a dull Tuesday. Memorex. No, I was going to ask you which school board you drove for, but let's not give anything even remotely personal out online. But I am curious. Oh, look who's here. Al's here. I thought you were going to bed early, Al. Well, if you're here, then I guess we'll crack this at 10. Well, I've already cracked it, actually. I had to try it. Yeah, exactly, Chris. And Al's just in time for the reading. I'm just going to catch up a little bit more, and then I'm going to do the reading. It's short tonight because I wanted to give Al a break. Al thumbs me down. That's okay. That's okay. Al does not like the readings. He says he does not need a bedtime story. But I feel the need to give Al a bedtime story, just to show him that I'm a caring individual. And it's late at night. So a nice story is a good way to come down off a hard day. Lots of rain where Linda is. We had a lot of rain. I think we got 40 millimeters on Saturday, and it was still raining on Sunday. Okay. Wow. Okay. So, Steve, okay, you're back in Hawaii now, but you spent the summer working in Minnesota and cruising the Boundary Waters canoe area. I would like to do the Boundary Waters at some point. It's like one of those sort of mythical canoe areas in my head. I made a board game about the Boundary Waters at one point. Apparently it's not very good, but I kind of like, I'd like to find one on eBay just to say I have it, just to try it. And by the way, everyone say hi to Al. And by the way, notice that Al also has the channel hero icon next to his name, which means he's helping to keep the lights on. Al goes above and beyond to keep the lights on around here, so I feel saying that he's helping keep the lights on is damning him with faint praise. Al is a person many of us can be thankful for every week. Yeah, Country Boy says, everyone loves the peanut trucker. Absolutely. I don't think he's in yet, though. I haven't... No, Orlando, we don't need any of your rain. We have had enough. Wow. After spending the summer in Minnesota, you went on a 9-day Algonquin trip. That must have been fabulous. Was it crowded, though? Because I hear that Algonquin isn't what it was like 30 years ago. That it's a little more crowded, a little less sort of... I'm looking for a word, solitudinal. That's not a word. It's not a word, but solid. Lonely? I don't know. Never mind. I'm not... Destiny's marking down my quotes again. So we're up to the part where I was telling you guys how busy I was, I guess. Destiny says, doing good. How's the lantern collection coming? You guys, those two guys, I'm going to be looking for a 336, I think it is, on eBay, like within 30 seconds. I love looking at those guys' stuff. Memorex says, thank you. It's nice. It's a nice welcome from a neighbor. Right there, I'm going to stop. I'm going to leave that comment on so that I don't lose my place. And we're going to do a very quick little reading. And it's going to feed directly into the question of the week. And unfortunately, I seem to have pulled out my placemat. No, not placemat. My signet. The thing that places that holds your place in a book. The little strip of whatever. So just give me a second to find it and to try to remember what it's called. Bookmark. I knew I'd get it. Oh, here we are. Drawing times will vary. Okay? I'll tell you why I'm reading this little chunk. Get ready, Al. Here comes Jesse's reading voice. Maybe mama moo. Okay. When I first started dehydrating food, I bought a couple of books on the subject, and they contained very specific drawing times for different foods. When I dehydrated my food, I found that the suggested drawing times were sometimes wildly off. Occasionally, my food would dry much faster than the prescribed times, and other times the process would take twice as long as what was recommended. At the time, I thought I was doing something wrong, but now that I've been doing this for over 25 years, I realize that other variables play a huge role in drying time. Relative humidity is probably the most important variable. I live in a cold climate, and we heat our home all through the winter months. This causes the air in the house to be very dry, so when I dehydrate food in the winter, the process is usually very quick. In more humid times of the year, drying food can take a lot longer. The size of your food and how densely you pack a dehydrator tray will also affect the drying time significantly. Now he goes into it a little bit more, but I really only needed that part because, man, I live that information right there. Because I have yet to really pull off a bingo when it comes to drying my food, like making jerky or whatever. My jerky has consistently been awful. Either like potato chip kind of snap, or it's not done enough, and I'm afraid if it's not done enough that I'm gonna poison my family or something, right? And I know that if I dehydrated stuff like every week or twice a month or something, I would get a sense for what the time in this house would take. But because I don't do it often enough, I'm not getting that sense, right? I get the dehydrator out, I put my stuff in it, I look at the manual, I set it for that, and I'm like, this ain't great. And because I want to bring dehydrated stuff rather than buying Mountain House meals every time I do like a 5-day or something, I really want to dial this in. I really want to, head into the woods with a bunch of stuff from this book instead of a bunch of $16 meals. And I'm not dissing Mountain House, by the way. I think dehydrated meals have come so far in the past 10 to 20 years. Like, they're so much more palatable than they used to be. But I don't have unlimited funds, right? And I would like a little more portion control than you get when you just buy a packet off the wall at Mountain Equipment Company or something, or whatever your REI, I guess, in the States. So yeah, so I really feel that I need to dive into this a lot more, and developing a skill is not impossible. It's like whenever somebody walks up to me at one of my gigs and says, "Oh man, I wish I could play bass," I always have the exact same canned Jesse Corbeil answer. All it takes is agonizing effort, right? And I just feel that it's the same thing with something like this. You just have to get a sense for how long the climate that I live in, and maybe come down to the house that I live in, right? Because we heat with electric. Some people heat with those water radiators, You just have to do it often enough to get a sense for what it takes. And so this feeds into my question of the week for you guys. For those of you who dehydrate, or you smoke your jerky in either a dedicated smoker or like a big green egg, or you build like First Nation style, right, with all the tree boughs or something, how long did it take you to dial in whatever let's extend this. If for you, like, your big task was like honing in on your ideal gorp recipe or something, just whatever your food prep for hiking or camping is, whether it's dehydrating, smoking, or whatever, how long did it take you to dial it in? How long did it take you to get it to, yeah, now I'm good at this. This is where I want it. Or have you yet? Is it an ongoing, have you been spending 20 years trying to hone your recipe for dehydrated scrambled eggs or something? I'm pulling examples out of the ether here, people. Is it a lifelong journey, or did you sort of get it at some point? I want to hear. So sound off. And while I wait for you guys to sound off, I'm going to go back to the side chat because I am now 17 minutes behind. So I'm going to catch up. Linda drove a school bus for 3 years, then went to Transit Windsor for 21. Okay, so you were a bus driver. Carol's in the house. How's it going, Carol? Please note that Carol also has the channel Hero icon. You doing good? How's the lantern collection? Okay, so Marcus is trying not to look at any more lanterns. You guys have such cool collections, though. And I'm saying that as someone who way prefers the oil, like the Hurricane lantern, right? To me, that is the ideal lantern. I would love a couple of hot blast ones, though. You know, those are the ones that are just like the T-shaped pipe on top instead of the little roof kind of thing. Why would I want those? Just because I think they're cool. I know that they don't work as well as a cold blast lantern. I know that. It's not about the usability. It's about sort of just having a really old school lantern burning next to the other ones, and you know, at night. Maybe doing an episode, a compare and contrast. I mean, I already know what the difference is going to be. The hot blast lantern is not going to burn as bright. But I still have, because of me growing up as a kid of the 70s and camping 70s, 80s, early 90s kind of thing. Those Coleman lanterns where you pump, pump, pump. That's what I was used to. That Coleman stove, 2-burner Coleman stove. It had to say Coleman on it, right? Sitting there on the side of, next to Lake Winnipeg, camping in one of those pop-up things. I've already gone into like way more than I need to about how the stuff that brings me like real, honest to goodness reminiscence about camping as a kid is exactly the stuff I don't want my kids developing the same affinity for, because it's all like, it all smells like gasoline and like noxious chemicals, right? Because that's what it was when I was growing up. It was like Muskol, those anti-mosquito coils, and everything was like a Coleman something that burned gas. But I have good memories associated with those stinky smells. Yeah, David's calling Marcus out. Yeah, always drove during my live stream. No, new job has you at work, right? Memorex says the opposite. I drove a tractor trailer for 36, then went on to school bus because having 2 months off in the summer was impossible otherwise. There's a regular around here called, Peanut Trucker, and he drives a rig. Hey, Serge is here, but you missed the pour. I know you missed the pour because I didn't completely destroy it. Are you having that can of Guinness? That can of Guinness that you showed me over Signal this week? Tonight? Peanut Trucker is here. How's it going? I was just talking about you, which you, of course, know because you showed up 17 minutes ago, 18 minutes ago, and I'm late. Linda says that she needs to get a dehydrator, which I'll be dehydrating foods. I got mine for free. Someone I was working with at the time gave me hers because, they were moving back to England and her boyfriend didn't want to pay for the shipping. So it's like, they never used it anyway. Everyone's got like they've got something like that in their closet or their kitchen. Sometimes it's a bread maker, sometimes it's a dehydrator. I keep wishing it would be one of those KitchenAid professional mixers. Not the one with the raising top, but the big honker. Someday. But yeah, so I got it for free. Yeah, Dave is like, my evening is complete. Peanut Trucker is here. I love it. Hey, Beto's here too. How's it going? How you doing? Let me just catch up. I think you're right about this, Shawnee. Shawnee is telling Linda that the oven on the counter, their air fryer slash oven thing. I think it has a dehydration setting too. I think I remember seeing that, or at least there's a model that's very similar that does. I was getting fired up about something. What was it? What was I getting fired up about? Anyone ever try retort canning? No, I have only ever done, what's it called? Hot water bath, boil bath, whatever it's called. A long time ago, when I still lived in Franco, Manitoba, my mama had a pressure canner. I would like one because there's some stuff that you don't want to can with anything less, right? But I don't even know what retort canning is. Shawnee's asking if Al has used the dehydrator setting on his Ninja oven thing. Oh, yeah, it's true. Al has an oven too. I totally forgot about that. Did I freeze up? First I was on fire, then I froze up? What the heck? Peanut Trucker's asking where his other hero is. Marcus. Marcus is here. He's hanging with us. You have a 9 tray. Yeah, I don't have a 9 tray. I think mine's a 3. If I was to buy one, it would not be the one that I have. But I didn't pay for it. So, not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. I have worked hard to develop an appropriate sense of gratitude when I get stuff for free. I still funk it up sometimes. I was about to say the wrong word there. But I'm trying to show. I'm not good at showing anything really because I'm so dead inside. But like, you know, because of that, I used to sort of come across as kind of ungrateful because I didn't emote. So I have to remind myself to make sure that it's obvious when I'm happy about receiving something. Marcus, is he there, Beto? I think you meant howdy. Ah, yes, you did mean howdy. Okay, I was like, what are you doing, man? Why you gotta be hating? Destiny's asking, okay, am I asking for trouble if I burn pine wood in your new wood stove? Like, not every day. Sorry for the dumb question. That's not a dumb question. Look, I know people who live in areas where all they have is resinous wood. And if all you have is resinous wood, what choice do you have? But my approach to whether it's in a stove or like an open fire is I use stuff like pine and anything resinous like that to start the fire. But then you really, really do want to get something hard like maple, oak, birch. You want to get that on there fairly quickly because what that'll do is it'll burn hot, but it'll burn long. Stuff like cedar or the evergreens, they burn fast and they don't really burn all that hot. Like if you want a fire to keep your ass warm because you're out in the middle of nowhere in like February, you know use those to start the fire, especially because when cedar is burning, it smells good enough to eat. I love it. Cedar's my favorite tree for many, many reasons, or one of them. But man, I love the smell of that stuff on a fire. Like literally, it smells good enough to eat, in my opinion. But yeah, there's no longevity. The resinousness, the resinous nature of the wood. It'll gum up your works. Like you're gonna have a creosote problem if you're not careful. So I would try to use it as your fire starter, and then get some maple on there or some stuff. You know, some hardwood, some birch. Some beech. I'm trying to think of the tree that's being taken out by an Asian beetle right now. Ash is good as well. I mean, maple is really what you want, though. I use my Bradley digital smoker to make jerky. It works great, especially with game meat. And, I think that for ease of use, something like that is ideal. I'm a classicist, though. I'm what Pine Martin called a romantic, right? I love the idea of using, charcoal, not like briquette, not those little square things. I mean, actual chunks of charcoal or wood. I, I'm not gung ho enough to try the First Nations way with the pine boughs or with the spruce boughs or anything like that. But one day I'd like to do it that way. So like to me, I would love to get one of those big green eggs, because that's a barbecue and a smoker in one, and do like an 11-hour brisket, and do some jerky and do some, but like we live under a permanent ban, a burning wood ban. So, my dehydrator is what I'm allowed to use, and a digital smoker like the one you're talking about is what I'd be allowed to use around here. So like clearly I have to just sort of smarten the hell up. Oh, there's a little bit left. I'm just going to show this so that Serge will know what I've been drinking tonight. Come on, focus. There we go. I knew you could do it. Steve is considering purchasing an industrial vacuum sealer pressure cooker. The term to search for is retort pouch or retort canning. Okay. I see. Okay. So it's like the redheaded stepchild of like a sous vide and a pressure canner. Retort pouch or retort canning. I'm gonna look it up though. See what's up there. I said something that Memorex liked. I wish I could remember what it was. I mind like a steel sieve these days. I don't remember anything. Thanks. Was always worried about the resin or whatever that sticky stuff is called in pine. Yes, absolutely. What did? Yeah. David. Yeah. I just like to err on the side of caution. And it's so good for starting a fire that like I don't want to waste it throwing it into a fire that's already lit as well, right? I don't think I'm not sure if creosote was the right word that I should have been looking for there, Destiny, by the way. These guys are smarter than I am, so they're gonna let you know if I buggered that one. Skip says 24 watching at 15 thumbs up. Is that true? Who's hurting my feelings right now? Oh, there's Al. Okay, so it is creosote in pitched wood, pine, fir, etc. Can be an issue, but not if you don't do it always. Yeah. I sleep less than you. My green light is on 4 most of the night, or on Facebook most of the night. If your green light's on Facebook, I'm like, hey, green light, get to bed. Oh, okay. No, sorry. I guess I went backwards to try to catch up there. Yeah. Next week I'll do 2 readings, one from Road and Track and the other from Car and Driver, just for Al. Destiny, Chris is here. He's hanging with us. Yeah, exactly, Al. That's what I'm trying to warn her against. I like to err on the side of caution because it can be a real drag trying to clean that crap up as well. The end of the beer. A little tea palate cleanser, because we are 15 minutes away from Scotch time. If Al is hanging around, we will have fancy Scotch. Oh, Shawnee knows more than I do. Is this retort canning usually isn't used in a home canning setting? Is this for commercial use? There's got to be a home setup as well, though. I told you guys, man, if I ever win 30 mil, I'm getting a home distilling setup, and then I'm going to make some whiskey. Whiskey! So Algonquin was not crowded, but you liked the Boundary Waters better. I've heard that before, but I've never gone to either of them, so I have no opinion. I have no idea what this means, but it's funny. David says, look on Facebook Marketplace for Coleman 335. Yeah, I do sometimes. I feel that the Facebook Marketplace in Montreal sucks for outdoorsy stuff. Or oh, Al, you're such a brat. Okay, he shall teach me the ways of the jerky. David is doing the God's good work here. Thumbs up, please, or you will get the hammer. Bam. Take that. Jerky making his hands on, doing the bend test, all about how it's sliced. Yep. I'm getting better at it. What I'll do nowadays is like I've learned to sort of throw your meat into the freezer for about an hour, just so it toughens up a little bit, but it doesn't get like rock hard, because it's easier to cut real thin against the grain that way. I keep trying to do like a dry rub jerky instead of like a marinade, but I've done marinade as well. I feel that it works better. Man, Al says, raise your hand if you think I should send Jess some of the U.S. MREs that I used to eat in the Navy. Would they get across the border? They probably would. Should I make a poll? You send me so much stuff, man. I'm going to feel guilty if you send me something else. But let's make a poll. Should Al send Jess an MRE? Well, David, it can be done both ways, right? Like, I don't have a smoker, so I would dehydrate it. But when I used to go hunting, we would stop off at a boucanier in sort of on the North Shore, in a small town that none of you have ever heard of. I don't know what a boucanier is. Is that David, is that a smoke house? Smoke shop? No, a smoke shop is where you go to buy cigars and stuff, right? Smoke thing? It's a place where they smoke meat. Anyways, and we would buy this jerky that was just thinking about it now makes me sad, because I don't go there anymore. So fabulous. Country Boy says that freeze dryers are coming down every day. That's the way to do backpacking meals. I've heard that as well, but I think they're still, because I've got a dehydrator that I don't have to pay for. And I think that, yeah, they're coming down, but they still seem expensive to me unless I'm not looking in the right places. David used to camp with MREs all the time. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. Well, when I was in the Air Cadets, we used to camp with IMPs, what they're called up here. Lipstick is about to go back to camping. That's good. I like it. Yeah, smoked is way tastier. Absolutely. I agree completely. I haven't bought, because I still really want the big green egg. I feel that if I buy an electronic smoker, like I'm giving up on the dream of the big green egg or something, you know? And maybe that makes no sense. And actually, I wouldn't buy an actual big green egg. There's another brand that does the same thing around here anyway. I don't know if they're everywhere, but called Kamado Joe. So it's the same, but they're like half the price, or pretty close to half the price. You know, if I can spend like $1,600 on a 24-inch rather than like $2,200 on a 24-inch, I would call that a win. Okay, so you got the Cabela's one. 160 Fahrenheit takes me 14 hours. Okay. 30 pounds of beef. I don't know how I would. David tried to dehydrate water. Shawnee says the jerky we do is on the smoker. I do the marinade and dry season. Husband does the cooking part. I've tried and always dried it too long. Took 2 roasts to learn cooking. 6 roasts to dial in marinade. Okay. Okay, that's good to know. No, I'm not getting any more beer out of that. Yeah. Shawnee still needs to master a good packable hiking breakfast bar. Yep, absolutely. I have destroyed more attempts at making a good bar than I care to admit. Remember, I tried to dehydrate beer. Don't do that. Just drink it the way the gods intended. Linda says she is so close to Mikisu that I could set up a camp there, come back home, feed Lacey her dinner, and let her out. Yeah, freeze dryer would be a nice way to prep the meals for sure. I wonder how long it takes. Memorex would rather, the time and the equipment for me is not worth it. I'd rather pay for what they make. The startup cost of getting set up to do a good sort of, to smoke your own jerky, way higher than, in the short run, way higher than just buying your jerky, especially if you got a great boucanier nearby. I just like being able to DIY it, though. Like, excuse me. Man, this week has been rough. It's only Tuesday. Then this week has been rough. I have a real sort of romantic attachment to ideas of, I don't want to say self-reliance, because that brings in like a whole lot of libertarian stuff that I don't buy into. And that's as far down that road as I'm going to go. I mean, I know some libertarians and they're fine people. I'm not, but I like the idea of making my own stuff for the same reason that I like rehafting my own axes rather than just throwing away a perfectly good head and buying some cheap ass thing at Canadian Tire. I like looking at something and saying, I made that. I did that. Me. I like not being beholden, especially with what, the guys in charge of Sobeys. What are their names? What's that family called? Walton? No. But like, with what we have to pay just to buy food to eat these days, the more I can do for myself, the more I feel like I'm unhitching from that particular rat race. It's the same reason I would love to put solar panels on here. Look, I mean, Memorex knows where we live in Quebec, the rates are so low that it'll take eons for a solar, even a relatively small solar setup here, to pay itself off. But it's not about the money for me. It's about unhitching from the whims of Hydro-Quebec. And Hydro-Quebec ain't nearly as bad as the gas companies. So that's where I want an electric car, is not because I think it's gonna pay itself off too quickly or anything. It's about not giving a crap what BP or Shell or ExxonMobil want to charge us for our gas. I love the idea of unhitching from that kind of overlord. And I'm not getting political about that, because that's not a left-right thing for me. It's just, to me, I like the idea of living old school. You have to do a certain amount of stuff for yourself. It's like, you know, when people start to talk about like the zombie apocalypse, because inevitably everyone does talk about the zombie apocalypse. And, you know, there's always some guys who are like, man, I'm going to have an M4. I'm going to have a couple of Glock 9s. You know, I'm just going to, I'm like, I'm going to have a wood shop, and I'm going to have friends who have, you know, a Glock and an M4. I mean, I'll have that stuff too, but I want to have the wood shop and have some guy who's a blacksmith, and then get a couple of dedicated gardeners, and then build a stockade, build a community. And, you know, and then we party like it's $14.99. You know what I'm saying? I mean, not that I want there to be a zombie apocalypse. I'm just saying that, like, the stuff that I'm interested in is like the old school skills, you know, blacksmithing an axe or a knife or whatever, building furniture with your hands rather than flat packing it from IKEA, growing food, not having to pay Safeway or IGA or Metro or Provigo. I like that stuff. But at the end of the day, I also live a modern life. So what Memorex says here, but at the end of the day, it's easier just to go to a good boucanier and buy your jerky. Well, it's easier just to walk into a gas station and buy your jerky, but it's like $9 for some half-assed stuff. Oh, Christy says that Steve has some good recipes for smoking jerky, but hasn't tried any yet. Come on, man. Get with it. Try a couple. I want to hear about them. Serge says to Memorex, I got a free can of 0% alcohol Guinness. Is that as bad as dehydrated beer? Peanut Trucker is saying probably 2 Memorex 88. I've been driving 36 years and still going. I'd say crack it open. I mean, I cracked open a beer. You know, some people are having tea. Some people are having water. That's fine. Memorex is getting the coffee machine ready for the morning. Fair enough. David Evans, I think it's the same one. Right? It's the Ninja Foodie or whatever it's called. I'm sure it's the same one. Or it's the same company anyway. Absolutely. I'm looking for what Shawnee said that Country Boy is are you talking about a freeze dryer? A freeze dehydrator? Oh God, what's it called? I'm so tired, people. You're talking about the freeze dryer thing, correct? Christy says, Amazon Day is saying tomorrow you should check out what you might need there. Hey, do you guys want to hear something that really, really irritates me? Like, really grinds my gears. Like, drives me right round the twist. Pisses me all the way off. I'm running out of ways to say this. So much anger in one very small heart. I had to call my bank today because for the third time since August, my credit card was defrauded. So I currently do not have a credit card. So I cannot drunkenly buy any knives tonight or anything like that, like we've done back in the past, like when Russell and I would hang out. So for the next 7 to 10 working days, I am without credit card, which is fine. But it means like I can't Amazon. I can't take advantage of the Amazon days or Prime, whatever the hell it's called. You know, and that might be a good thing actually. Like I keep sort of trying to go on a spending underdrive, and I'm good at it for a few weeks, and then like I buy 3 bottles of whiskey within 3 weeks of each other, kind of thing. But it really bugs me that What bugs me is the bank didn't call me about it. They froze my card. And like as soon as my card was frozen, I was like, no. So I checked, and of course there were 3 things I didn't recognize. Not huge. There's one for $2.75, which is kind of what they do to test the waters. There were that was from someplace in the States. There were $200 charges on some Toronto Transit thing, and then what made the bank just stop the card cold was that they tried to spend $5,600 on something in London, England. So I'm glad that they stopped it. But why didn't they call me? Because at one point they would have called you. You know, in fact, I have been called when I was with another bank. If something like that happened, I got a call immediately. Anyway, so no, Christy, I will not be taking advantage of Amazon days, which is too bad. Wait it out. I would do all the fruits for snacks, plus veggies and broth to make powder soup base. Then I would try meals. Powder soup base, that would be amazing. That would be fabulous. Stuff like that is what I want to try. Like, you put the paper down in your dehydrator and like you reduce your soup until it's kind of a paste, and you just sort of put it on the there are some recipes like that in here where you can dehydrate your tomato sauce or whatever. I would love to make a powdered soup base, because I'm supposed to be on a reduced salt diet, and I'd tell you something for free. Finding a powdered soup base that I can use is a chore. And and I wouldn't, like, I know how to replace the taste punch that salt gives you in a recipe with other things. Okay, so Steve says, retort canning is when you make MREs using a pressure cooker. They do it a lot in Asia, but it hasn't really caught on in America. It's like, interesting. Oh, you got contractors coming. Okay, hold on. Let's pour some stuff. Al, are you pouring yourself a dram? Contractors at 7, eh? Ooh, I almost dropped it. Wouldn't that be funny? No. Look at this, people. Bottle of whiskey, gift from Al. Bottle of expensive whiskey because that's how Al rolls. This is the John Walker and Sons King George V edition. That's a really heavy top. It's metal. It's not plastic. Hold on. Focus, you bastard. There we go. Al, are you having the same thing with me? I'm going to nose it while I'm waiting for Al to tell me if he's having the same thing. Oh, yeah, it's after 10. Sorry, dude. I get fruity notes. I have, like, sort of a dark fruit. There's definitely some smoke there. That smoke will come from the Port Charlotte, which in their marketing, they make a big deal about using Port Charlotte casks, which was a dead distillery. I think they're reopening it now, but they're using the old stuff from when the distillery was around. It's a blend that is made to recreate what a Johnny Walker of the 1930s would be like, and this King George V is to commemorate when King George V gave them the first royal warrant that they've give them their first royal warrant. So all the distillery is in this blend, and this, by the way, is not a blended malt; it's a blended whiskey. What does that mean? I'll tell you in a second. All the distilleries in this blend were in action when King George V was the monarch. Some of them do not exist anymore, which means that technically this is a collectible bottle because those casks will disappear at some point and they can't do that anymore. It's very nice on the nose. kind of a warm hug, but it's still got a freshness on the top. Very fruity, some apple, some like a candied lemon just across the top. Kind of juicy. Very, very juicy. There's a excuse me, a candied like a lemon drop. And like the smokiness that you get from the Port Charlotte is not, it's not right up front. It's like the whisper of a smokiness just sort of drifting at the back. Just a touch of a medicinal note. Very nice. I'm going in. Lots of oak. Wood spice. A waxiness, like what's that lemon scented furniture polish called? That makes it sound like a negative, but it's not. In the whiskey world, it's not a negative thing. It's like, it's just a character that you're used to. Was it Lemon Pledge or something? The oak is big. Maybe a baking spice because there's a maltiness there. It's got the spice, but it's also still very sort of smooth and creamy. It's an interesting juxtaposition. It's very beautifully unified. It's sort of like, it's not a disparate bunch of flavors. It's a really nice unified character. Yeah, it's very, very good. It's very delicious. It's definitely an old school whiskey in its character. They're definitely like harkening back to the way whiskey was back in our grandparents' time. Like, the new blenders do not make stuff like this. Now, I said before that it's a blended whiskey, not a blended malt whiskey. That's because it's a mix of some, malted barley whiskeys and a lot of what they call very old grain whiskeys. Now, grain whiskey tends to be a lot more affordable than malt whiskey. But when you get to really old stuff, the thing is, grain whiskey can be just as good. In fact, it very often is just as good. And it has a character that malt whiskey doesn't. And so adding grain whiskey and malt whiskey together in this, it helps bring that character out. The grain whiskey will be, it'll help to sort of round out the bottom, which it does in this. And I believe that the blue label is also blended whiskey rather than blended malt whiskey. Oh, it's so bougie that I've got a blue label here. Sorry, guys. Yeah, it says blended Scotch whiskey. So there's probably some grain whiskeys in the blue label as well. The green label says blended malt whiskey. So there's no grain in that. Anyways, it's delish. I cannot afford to buy another bottle of this once it's gone. But I'll be sad when it's gone. You want to take a look at the bottle? Johnny Walker and Sons. Very nice. As I said, I could not have bought this myself. Al enabled this purchase through his extreme generosity. Serge said he actually buys his hardwood to burn because you have mostly evergreen on your property. Avoid burning evergreen in the furnace since the sap makes a mess. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and what David is saying, you got to make sure that your wood is dry no matter what it is. Absolutely. As soon as you start trying to burn stuff that's not like absolutely bone dry, there's all kinds of, there's smoke issues. There's, you'll creosote the hell out of your stuff. Hey, should I close that poll? So what did it say? Whoops. Where did it go? Oh. Should Al send Jess an MRE? Yes, 88%. No, 11%. Well, there we go. Sean, he's being a brat. Yes, I'm trying to catch up. Serge said, oddly enough, I missed most of the live stream because I made a fire because the temperature here has dropped. Yeah, it's dropped here too. I think you're just showing off because you know that I can't make a fire. Shawnee says, 32 degrees outside here tonight. 2 blanket kind of night. That's 32 degrees freedom. So yeah, that's like straight up 0 Canadian, isn't it? Sergio's gonna go get the 0 alcohol Guinness. I would love to know what you think about it because, like, literally, I really, really do feel that 0% alcohol, 0% booze and beer has come so far in the past several years that I'm assuming that it will taste way better than it would have if it came out 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. Oh, you got a Blaze King. Yeah, don't ruin it with sap. Chris says, sorry, I was working and listening, so I hit the thumbs up so the hammer doesn't get me. Love it. Yeah, sap is awful and stuff. Hey, she's a blue in the house. How's it going? Nice to see you. Have I visited Réserve Faunique Rouge Matawan? No, I have not. Excuse me while I write that down because I assume you're about to say it's fabulous. I mean, I've visited some other ones, but not that one. It is possible to retort can in the home setting, but requires special equipment. Just got very tired of dehydrated food. I've noticed that some Asian sauces are shelf stable. In Indonesia, people are doing retort canning, also preppers. Smoke shake. That sounds disgusting and yet strange. Oh, smoke shack. Okay. Yeah, I know. Sorry, I was late on the pour. Sorry. Steve, yeah, I saw a Canadian Tire and electric smoker that uses pellets as well. Yeah, and with the whole sort of, yeah. David, anyone watching the My Self-Reliance podcast, what do you think? I'm not, because I didn't know they existed because they're not really podcasts. Like, they don't show up on my podcast app. David, have you seen them show up on yours? Maybe I'm not using the right app, but that makes no sense. No. I don't see the podcast show up anywhere. Like, if it's not available on podcasting apps, it's not a podcast. It's just a talking head video series. And I'm not interested in watching a talking head video series unless it's like about video games or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, the context of My Self-Reliance or of Russell's work or yours, David, which is a sly hint that you should get back to making videos, David, because I like them. The context is that I want to see him working in the great outdoors. I haven't seen any of his podcasts yet, but I did see some discussion about it, and I find him interesting. But I want my podcast to be something I can play in the car. That's where I do my podcasting. I do my audiobooks in the car. In no other context of my life would I ever listen to an audiobook. I like seeing the page in front of me. But while I'm driving, that's when I listen to podcasts. That's when I listen to audiobooks. That's what makes me not mind if my drive is 2 hours instead of like an hour and a half kind of thing. That's what makes me not mind if my drive is, an hour instead of 30 minutes. Because I'm before the plague hit, wintertime made my drive home specifically, because getting to work was still about a half hour, but my drive home was very often 2 hours. and I needed to reset my settings. I needed to reset my headspace on that drive home and turn it into, this is me time. So I downloaded or subscribed to a bazillion podcasts, separated the wheat from the chaff, and just like, this will be me time. I will listen to stuff I'm interested in, and I will not feel the road rage. The road rage? That's not the word, Jesse. Learn to use this language. That's not the road rage kind of welling up anymore. You know, I see it as me time. I'm listening to great stuff. And that's the context of a podcast for me. I almost never watch the video version of a podcast. I don't want to. So no, I haven't listened. If it shows up on my podcast app, I'm going to listen to it. But I'm not listening to it on YouTube. Okay? All right? Is that clear enough? Yeah, take that. I think I just said what I think. So when we go all electric, not in my lifetime, we will not be held hostage by the power companies. Yeah. Yeah, probably. But bear in mind, like, I work in high tech, right? So to me, the fact that the internal combustion engine has not fundamentally changed in a century. I mean, there have been changes, absolutely, but not in a fundamental existential way. It's still ancient technology. You still get better torque out of an electric engine and stuff. It's not about like being green, although I'm kind of like that, but that's not what that's about. You know, because I'm not the type who will spend extra on something just to be all like greenwashing myself. I find electric cars to be exciting. Would not buy a Tesla. Just to throw that out there. I mean, like, some of my favorite cars are not electric, right? You know, the Jaguar, you know, E-Type. You know, there's never going to be an electric version of that because it's an old car, you know. There's a plug-in hybrid Jeep Wrangler now, which when an electric F-150 and a plug-in hybrid Jeep Wrangler came out, that told me that all this thing about it being a left-right thing doesn't exist in the business world, right? They're just looking at the numbers, and that's the world changing right there. If I bought a Jeep, it's done right. But anyways, I'm not going to bore you guys with that whole philosophy thing. It's whatever. But I don't want to be beholden to Hydro-Quebec more than I have to be. I would like to put solar panels up so that it lessens the impact of Hydro-Quebec's little foibles. And as I said, they're not bad compared to like Hydro One in Ontario, for instance. So it feels kind of silly to be like, oh, I want to be free of Hydro-Quebec. I mean, shut up, Jesse. And part of it's just because I like that kind of technology. I want to have solar panels on my house so I can be like, oh, look at what I've got. I'm powering my own power tools, you know? I mean, I wouldn't be able to go completely off grid here. We've got a heated saltwater swimming pool. There's no way I can be off grid. But I can lessen the impact a little bit. Party like, did I say party like it's $14.99? I have no idea what it. Oh, that's when I was talking about like building a little community when the apocalypse comes or whatever. Yeah. You can help start Jenny's? Okay, fair enough. Deep Bay in the house. How's it going, Rob and Sharon? Or is it Rob or Sharon? Is it one or both of you? Nice to see you. Man, I am so late. It's like 22:20. I'm like a half hour late here. Okay, I'm going to try to speed through. Okay, everyone's just saying hi, so I'm going to skip past all that. Wow, except I just saw this. Chris, tomorrow your lucky wife and you have been blessed to be married for 26 years. That's cool. I've been with my missus for 18 years, yeah. Can't you arrange an instant card at the bank in person? I probably could if I was with a bank that had tellers. All right, my bank is... Oh, God, I don't want to get into it. Lipstick is always... Memorex is always hanging with the Ontarians. I am, too. Oh, I was on his third dork? Okay. I don't know what being on your third dork means. Just kidding. I see what you're saying. Yeah, Countryway spilling $800 on the floor would not be funny at all. Hilariously, it's 9. It's 9. Yeah, candy apple. Yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm. It's very good. Might get brave and take Lacey camping, but she will likely have to stay in the tent. If she sees a dog, she'll go crazy. I'm afraid she'll break loose and attack a dog if she sees it. Okay, Lacey. There's only one level up from there? What the hell is up from there? What the hell is up from here? Did they do one that's even more expensive than this? All right, everyone say goodnight to Memorex. Have a good night, Memorex. I really hope I start seeing you hanging around us every couple of weeks at least. It was nice to see you here. You said some really cool, interesting stuff. Memorex steps out. In steps Dennis. How's it going, Dennis? How are you doing? I was happy that I finally got to see part of your live stream, not the next day tonight. That was cool. And it purely happened because my Tuesday looked horrible, and then suddenly something got canceled. And I was like, Dennis is going on in 5 minutes. I had to leave work. I mean, I was working from here early. I had to pick my daughter up at 3 at her school and head to an appointment. And then I had to get her back to school for like 5:15. And then I had to rocket to the other school to pick up the squeakling before it got too late. I mean, because 5:30 is still pretty late for a 4-year-old, right? And then we came here for like a few minutes, and then we left again to go and order dumplings for supper. The dumplings were going to be ready in a half hour. So we went and walked around and did some stuff. And I bought her a toy, like in a little Kinder Egg. She was really disappointed with the toy, so I felt kind of bad about it, but whatever. And then we came home, and I was like, because I had a school meeting at 7, from 7 till 8. So then at 8, I was going to get off that, make sure everyone was okay, then run back down here for 8:30, which is when when I have the time to do this properly. I'm down here and I'm starting to set up at 8:30. And then suddenly the 7 o'clock meeting got canceled. And so I actually had time to have supper tonight. And, Dennis' live stream went on at his usual time. And I actually had the time to watch for like almost 20 minutes. Take the wins where you can get them, right? Oh, seriously, Al, there's one above this? I saw that there's another edition of the King George V. There's I don't remember what it's called, but it's around the same price. Or maybe it's a little more. I don't quite remember. I love it. Country Boy says, good night to Memorex. Thanks for joining this group of weirdos tonight. Why you gotta be all hating? Oh, yeah, a bottle of Master's Edition that cannot be gotten anymore. I didn't even know there was such a thing. Diamond Jubilee? I don't know What? Is that the one that's above this? Is there a Diamond Jubilee? Well, that's the thing, Christy. That's what it sounds like to me as well. And whereas I would absolutely listen to a podcast, I don't want it on a screen. If it's just him talking, I want it on the speakers of my car as I drive to and from work. That's where I podcast. And so if he's not actually going to podcast, then it's just this false advertising. That sounds like I'm dissing him, and I don't want to diss him because he's a channel I really look at. Yeah. He's a channel. His is a channel that I really look up to. I knew I could get it out if I worked on it. Yeah, apparently he does call it a podcast, but it's not. Yeah, Canoe Hand is, Dennis is the same. Listen in the car or while walking the dog. If I had a dog, that would be ideal podcasting time as well, for sure. I do miss having a dog. I do. I've only ever had 2 or 3, but I do miss having a dog. There's a real, like, I don't mind getting up to walk a dog, whereas I do mind getting up at 5:30 to, do the morning stuff. That makes it. I mind getting up at 5:30 to do the morning stuff. I have no problem being the first one up and making the latte, the morning latte for my wife and getting the kids' stuff ready, because I'm someone who loves his solitude. Right. And between that and post 9:30, 10 p.m., I don't ever get that. Because, yeah, I work at home a lot, but it's not the same because I'm online and people are pinging me and blah and blah and blah. I love the morning. Like, I don't turn on the ceiling light in the morning. Actually, I don't like turning on the ceiling lights at all. I find them aggressive. It's not a good light. Like, I turn on the light above the stove. We have lights under all the cabinets, and then some of those Edison, those hanging lights over where the coffee machine is. I turn those on. It's enough light for me, but it's not aggressive. It's a nice way to sort of move from from sleepfulness. I believe I've just made up a word. From like sleep to wakefulness. I'm doing my stuff. I'll like check, see if anyone's talking on Russell's Discord or whatever. Is Russell okay? He's not here. What's up with that? Yeah, Country Boy, it's way above my pay grade for sure. I feel that if I was independently wealthy, my whiskey bottles would across the board maybe be a whole lot more expensive. But it's just, when I saw the price of this, it absolutely terrified me. Oh, I see. He's got a podcast category. Yes, YouTube is trying to get into podcasts. Absolutely, Shawnee. So that's probably why he's doing it. I've seen some weird news about like what podcasting does sort of to the rest of your channel stats, though. It's not necessarily good. I'm not going to do it. I'm dying to have a podcast again. I loved podcasting, but it's not going to be through YouTube if I ever have the time to do it, or if YouTube ever makes me enough money that I can think about diving in way more. I loved being a podcaster. I really did. But yeah, I wouldn't do it through YouTube at all. No way. Some channels, what they do is they record the podcast also as a video, and then they just, they take the audio and put it as an audio podcast and put the video element on YouTube. But I wouldn't even put it on YouTube, I don't think. I mean, if I ever got around to being able to do, to having the time to do a podcast, maybe I would. But to me, a podcast is an audio thing. To me, a podcast is the descendant of radio, not the descendant of video and film and TV the way YouTube is. So they're very separate in my head. Did you guys see that? I don't know what happened there. I have no idea what happened there. Where was I? And now suddenly I'm lost in the side chat. It's like it just went book. My Self-Reliance, not a podcast. Okay, so David has put the link there for anyone who is interested. Right click on the link and open it in a different tab so you can watch it later. Yeah, YouTube is trying to cash in on that market, but wouldn't go there. Do you see him ever interviewing other people, or will this turn into deep thoughts only? He had over 42,000 views on the podcast video. For me, what I'm willing to watch depends on whether or not people do start doing interviews. There are some podcasts. There's one podcast in particular. Okay, it's called something. He's an academic. It used to be called The Fall of Rome. Then when he got to sort of the end of The Fall of Rome, which is where his real focus in school was, I feel, to keep the podcast going, it turned into Tides of History, it's called. I feel that there's a real sort of self-importance coming through in the way in the expository nature of his discourse. But I find his interviews insufferable. And I like listening to podcast interviews most of the time. It's just this guy, whose name escapes me, can't handle the interviews. I skip every interview, which is weird. But yeah, I would like to see. I just like to see Sean James interview someone, like see how that would go. David says he's preaching. I did not enjoy it. I have picked up a slight preachiness in some of his stuff, where he starts going into like. Anyway. Al says, by the time he sees my comments, he'll have half the effing bottle. No, I'm going to make this last as long as I can, Al, because I can't buy another one. Like, this is a one-off for me. I don't want to finish this off at all. But yeah, you're right. I'm only 12 minutes behind now. All right, let's just keep moving on. I'm just trying to... Oh, so the beer tastes like Guinness flavored water. It's weird. Oh, that's too bad, because so much de-alcoholized beer is so much better than it used to be. I'm not saying it's great. I'm just saying it's better than it used to be. So I'm let down by what you're... Deep Base says, it's just me, Sharon and Jess. Rob doesn't really do live streams. Fair enough. Oh, hey. Hawaii Volcano Squad's here. Had a $40 shot of Dalmore Scotch at the steakhouse for your birthday. Yeah, you can spend a lot of money on a Dalmore, for sure. Dalmore is kind of like a Macallan in that they've sort of aimed for a very specific market. And so it's kind of upmarket for sure. There's a couple of... The nice thing about going to a whiskey bar is that you can try stuff that you're like, oh, do I really want to stretch the budget for that? Go and try it and make that decision. Because even kind of pedestrian whiskeys, I've got a couple of $100 bottles that I'm never going to finish. And so those are two expensive mistakes. Once you get up to like a $300 bottle and you're like, am I going to do this? Try it in a bar first. You know, try in a bar, make sure they got a Glencairn so you can really do a proper sniff and everything. But Al says, if I ever get a chance for Diamond Jubilee, I will not hesitate. Well, how much is Diamond Jubilee? Ah, okay. 227,000 Canadian. Yeah, there's a lot of that's BELMORE makes okay, they make a scotch that they do in conjunction with Aston Martin. That's like a $300 bottle. But they also make one with Aston Martin where the bottle is specifically shaped to fit inside one of like a piston off of an Aston Martin. And that one is serious bucks, especially once you get into the collector's market, because that's the thing. At that sort of price range, a lot of those bottles will never be tasted, right? They're going to be bought and then flipped, and every time they're flipped, they get a little more expensive and stuff like that. Oh, Alicia's here all week. Okay, so that's probably why he's not hanging with us. Yeah, you did. Sorry, Al, I forgot. Yeah, you did say he wasn't going to be available. That's true. Yep. Linda says you hit that on the head. He reminds me of my ex. His monotone voice is very exciting. The how-to vids are okay. I love watching him build. I mentioned that early in my live streaming, is that the thing that made me start avidly watching his channel was he was building something, and the way he held a measuring tape told me that this guy was a carpenter. And my first OG subs and friends here will have heard this. I'm sorry, I'm going to bore you, but for those of you who are a little more recent, my first summer job, which I did 5 years in a row, was in construction out in Vancouver. Like, my dad got me jobs got me onto job sites, because he was a carpenter for many, many years, and then he was a building inspector for the city of West Vancouver, and now he's retired. But like, when I saw the way Sean James held his tape measure and the way he was hammering, I was like, he's a manual. I'm looking for the English word, and whatever. He worked in the trades. He's a tradesman, and I respect that, because some of my, I have some really good memories of just falling into bed and falling asleep with like this full body tiredness that you only get from a full on balls to the wall day of hard ass manual labor. And I still love the smell of sawdust. I do not ignore you on Discord. Well, I ignore everyone on Discord once I'm sort of deep into the getting supper ready and stuff. I'm checking the Discord. Ow. I'm checking the Discord. Oops, I'm on the wrong Discord. Oh, yeah. Okay. Wrestling isn't going to be on this evening. Yeah. I only glanced at that. It popped up, but yeah. Open the bottle. Yes, I opened the bottle, and it's very good. Are you drinking the same thing tonight, Al? Yeah, I did disappear. Sorry, I don't know what the heck. All right, David's out. Everyone say goodnight to David. I'm late, so he's gone already, right? Oh, I'm only 5 minutes late now. Nice. And crazily, Serge is still with us. Oh, Serge, I got what you sent me. I will get some money together and ship that off. Send that off. So whatever. No, what happened? Sean was, I guess you could say, corporate world. He was running a construction business, and his partner took off and left him holding the bag for like very close to $1 million. So I mean, it took him a long time to get out from under that hole. I mean, he still sort of has to go to court every night and again. I'm pouring another very small dram. Al, just to show you how much I appreciate this bottle. Okay, yeah. So you're on your third dram, but of the same thing. So we're drinking $900 bottles of whiskey together. I noticed that it's not $900 in the States. I mean, it's not affordable, but the power of the American dollar, man. But yeah, and so that's another thing that I really liked about I like about Sean James is that he's living proof that you can have an epic, practically existential crisis occur and pick up and yes, live a different life from that point on, but it doesn't stop you. I have massive respect for that because I am someone who gets stopped on the regular by my anxiety. It's like, I'll come down here to clean, to finally organize the basement. I'm gonna do it. It's gonna happen, and my wife is gonna be happy. And I just look at the enormity of what has to be done around me, and I just get frozen by it. So whenever I hear a story about something like, and my dad went through something like that I didn't even know about until really relatively recently, where he was running he had a small carpentry business. This is when we were living in Manitoba with a partner, and my dad owned all the tools. The partner owned the truck. And one day the partner just sayonara and left my dad holding nothing. And like my mom said that, my dad was on the phone with this guy several times saying, just bring me my tools. Just give me my tools so I can feed my family. And the guy just didn't. And the ability to, okay, and pick up and move on in some fashion. Because when a carpenter loses all his tools, that's a big, big money problem. And you can't replace them all. And without all of them, it's hard to get the jobs that you need to replace them all, And so Sean James's story, I don't mean the story as in like he's telling tales. I mean the story of Sean James, of how you can be left holding the bag for over $700,000 or whatever it was, 778 or something, and your life doesn't end. You pick up, you move on, you get a little stronger. It's like when you're lifting weights. What's making it stronger is, you're making these tiny tears in your muscles. And then when you take a break from arm day, they heal stronger. That's what's happening when something like that happens. And I love stories like that because I really want to be able to say with confidence that, because look, I've picked up and moved on from some really, what at the time seemed like, disastrous crap. And I'm sure that all of you have as well. The first disastrous crap that you pick up and move on from is like when you lose your first love kind of thing, right? You're like, what, 14? You have no idea the agony that love will put you through further into your life. And some people, they go through bankruptcy, and some people lose everything in a fire, and some people, and my mother always taught me that the universe will never throw something at you that you literally absolutely cannot handle. And I believe that for a long, long time. I no longer do. Every time someone sort of disappears through suicide, that philosophy is shaken a little bit more. But I believe that the universe isn't there to throw stuff at you that you absolutely can't handle. Sometimes it happens, but it's almost like collateral damage in the massive machinations of how a universe works. Is that getting too boring and philosophical? Let's move on. Let's drink more whiskey. Because if I finish the thought, it's just gonna get maudlin around here. But anyways, I have massive respect for Sean James. I do find him a little preachy on occasion, and his worldview is a little too libertarian for me. But I love the living spaces he's building for himself. They're very similar to the way I would. I would love to sit down and have a smoked meat sandwich and a cup of coffee or a beer with that guy, because I feel that he does have a lot of knowledge. You know, he does have a lot of knowledge. He's fairly down to earth, and I just like to see that damn cabin. I think his second cabin is better than the other one. I prefer the other one because that's the cabin I discovered him building. But it's clear that having to sell his previous property because of the stupid neighbors and having to kind of restart that, it's clear that he's like, okay, here are the things that I kind of I painted myself into a corner with on that other cabin. So let's do it better. Anyways, whatevs. I'm just getting really boring now. Yeah, he was down 750K. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Every setback opens an opportunity, says Serge. And Serge knows too, because he's been through. I'm not going to talk about Serge's story because it's his to tell, not mine. But yeah, I witnessed Serge go through a pretty rough patch there, and he's I think doing better now. But that's me being judgmental, which is not I don't have the right to do that. So, Destiny says, an awesome live tonight. Interesting ruminations. Deeply grateful for the live and the awesome peeps. Bonsoir tout le monde. Be safe and be free. Bisous. Good night, Destiny. Everyone said good night to Destiny. How late am I, though? She's gone? Oh, I'm only 2 minutes late. So maybe she's still here to hear. Sean's first love is always the wilderness. I understand that completely. How's it going, Tim? How you doing? How's your partner tonight, Tim? Oh, I've caught up. Amazing. Is Al still here or did he go to bed? Because I've still got, this dram that I'm going through. Very nice. When I turned 50, I had this idea that I was going to buy myself an unreasonably priced bottle of whiskey. Not like this unreasonable, but like, a $400 bottle kind of thing to celebrate. And I didn't do it. I just sort of, the money went on bills or something. And, oh, hold on. This is more interesting than what I was about to say. He's pretty much telling his story on his new podcast. Yeah, maybe I'll give it a listen while I'm doing the dishes or something. Like, I don't want to watch a podcast, but maybe I'll give it a listen. See how I like it. If he really does get kind of preachy, then I'll give it 2 episodes and move on. Because my time is compressed, I give many podcasts like 3 episodes and like, nope, move on. I don't want to feel like I'm being made to work for it to like a podcast. So, I move on pretty fast if I'm not loving it. There are some that I've been listening to for years and will always listen to, even if I do it sporadically. Like, I ignore it for a month and a half and then I listen to 4 episodes in a row kind of thing. Country Boy says, I can't afford that stuff you're drinking, but I'll tilt me bud with you. Yeah, sure. I can't afford it either. It's purely thanks to Al's generosity that I get to taste this. And I'll never be able to buy it again. But here's to us. Here's to everyone who's been hanging out with me every Tuesday night. And like, especially those of you who hang from the stem to the stern. I say some really stupid things in these podcasts, guys. So I'm all grateful and stuff. We just had Thanksgiving, so I'm feeling all thankful. But yeah. Yeah, so I raise my glass to all of you, you know, old guard listeners, new people, and everyone in between, members and non-members alike. I never want people to feel that they have to become a member to get sort of the value of the channel, you know. I want the members to get a little extra. I don't want the people who are non-members to feel that they're getting less. So so this cheers is for everyone. I feel that this cheers is for everyone was likely a grammatically terrible sentence. But I'm just too tired to know how I would have fixed that. Hold on a second. Tim says, I listen to podcasts when I'm hiking or taking a walk. When I'm taking a walk, sometimes I do. Sometimes I listen to some music, and sometimes it's podcasts. Like when I'm taking a walk, I like to have something happening in my ears. When I'm hiking, I like to not commune with nature, but that's what I want to be listening to. But if I'm in the city, there's nothing I need to hear. Now, there is one. Did I tell you guys this story? One night I was out listening to some tunes. I was taking a walk because I like to sort of get the beans out by taking a half-hour walk at night sometimes. And I live in an area that's half kind of okay and half really not. And there's one street that has been crime-ridden forever. Anyways, I'm bopping along. I've done the outward loop and I'm coming back. And my phone rings. And the thing about these Apple earbuds is they're noise canceling. So my entire universe is the music or the podcast or whatever I was listening to. But when the phone rings, it gets call from the missus. So I answer it. She's like, do you hear that? I'm like, what? And through coming from her, I feel like I've told this story. If I'm boring you, people just tell me to stop. Through the phone coming from her, I'm hearing gunshots. And so I pop one ear out, and sure enough, they're a lot closer than she is to me. And she's like, what's the route you're taking? I'm telling her, and she's saying, stop. And we triangulate, and there's a pitched gun battle happening 2 blocks up and between us. So I take the world's biggest detour down, and I'm sort of, and I'm not listening to anything anymore. I'm listening because if somebody bolts and starts running in my direction and like they're like shooting in, right? Look, I grew up in a, I wouldn't go as far as to say a slum, but definitely a ghetto. So that's the kind of thing I think about when I start hearing that stuff. And so, I just, every time it sounds like they're moving, I sort of, okay, I go down one more block kind of thing. And I finally get home. Why am I telling you this story? Why am I talking about this story? There was a reason. Somebody said. Oh, yeah, because when I'm in the city, I always have the headphones in because I don't want to hear the traffic. And I always have the noise canceling in. And I've got like a podcast on or maybe a little music or an audiobook or something. And every now and again, maybe I shouldn't have the noise canceling on. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, whatever. I got home safe. Judging by the sounds, not everybody did. Country Boy says, did you check out that podcast I told you about a few weeks ago, Slumax Gold? I'll take a look for it again, but there's something in the spelling that I'm not getting right. SLUMACS. Yeah, like I get to SLUMAX and I get no results. So I don't know. Unless, is it just Sumax Gold? Like, I don't know. I don't even know if this is quite the same spelling, but whatever it was, is I was looking for it and I couldn't find it. Ah, sleepy time tea with lemon. So Christy's going to bed soon. I'm going to go to bed soon too as well. Working on 2 paintings. Nice. For those of you who don't know, Tim is quite the painter. Try to dedicate 2 hours a day. Wow, nice. Very nice. Country Boy says, that's showing up in the YouTube, not in the other. I'll try to find a link to send you. The way it's pronounced and spelled are different. Okay. Yeah, what you could do is from your podcast thing, there's almost always like a share button. So just hit the share button and send that to me. Country Boy, yeah, you've got my email address. Just do that. I'm trying to keep myself down to one dram at a time of that. So tonight was a special night. SLUMAX Gold. Oh, SLUMAX Gold. SLUMAX Gold. Wow, the typing is not great. Dead Man's Curse, SLUMAX Gold. Well, okay. I have now hit follow. And I will give it a listen and let you know. Oh, wow. I've been listening to one. I didn't mean for this to turn into like all podcasts all the time, but man, I've been listening to one called The Outlaw Ocean, I think it's called. And it's about sort of just how lawless the open ocean really is. Like once you're beyond every nation's like claim, and the stuff that happens in the open ocean. Is it Lawless Ocean? Where is it? The Outlaw Ocean. It was only like an 8-parter. It was a co-production of the CBC and the LA Times. Fascinating. Makes you angry, but yeah, fascinating. Okay, so SLUMAX Gold. I will listen to Country Boy and I will let you know what I think. Wow, we're at 22:58. I guess it looks like Al has gone to bed because he isn't answering. Russell was not available tonight. I will put this bottle away to reduce the temptation to drinky poo. And I'm going to look forward to next week. I know Al doesn't like the readings, but I like doing them. I like the process of finding something kind of cool to read. Very often I'll think of something I've been reading in one of the books and go back to that. But yeah, Peanut Trucker made the whole show. You didn't bow out early at all. Happy anniversary, dude. I hope you guys are gonna do some really cool stuff. Yeah, it's 22:59, so I'm gonna do the whole shutting down the show thing. Excuse me. Shutting down the show should not equal yawning into your ears. I'm sorry about that, peeps. So yeah, if anyone can think of a book that they would like me to do a reading from, suggest it in, I don't know, down below, or I mean any of my socials. I would love to reduce the number of communications apps I use, because sometimes like David Evans will send me a texto or something and it takes me forever to remember which app did he contact me in. Same thing with Country Boy. He sent me pictures of something at one point, and man, it took me forever to figure out, was that email or was that Instagram or was that Facebook or was that Signal? It's like, God. Anyways, if you guys think that there's a book I should really start reading from, and it's something I can afford, if it's something I don't have, then I don't mind doing that. I will read anything related to the great outdoors, provided it's well written. You know? So, yeah. Good night. I hope to see you all next week. Between now and then, please, everybody, be sane, be healthy, be safe, and be kind to one another. And since there's no wrestle, there's no pea soup. But have a good night, everyone. Bye.